Hey guys, and welcome to another video of this Factorio guide series. And again here I am joined by MadZuri.
Greetings.
So yeah, this episode, as we ride on belts here, we set up some science labs here off screen and finished this science setup. I think Zuri will go over some stuff about this science setup, and then we'll move into some other things as well.
Certainly. First off, I'm calibrating it to be 1 per second for each of the science, and that's base rate. So you'll see that the Science Pack 2s take 6 seconds and Science Pack 1 take 5 seconds. That's why I built 5 and 6. So the base rate is 1 per second. But since we're using Tier 1 assembly machines, that's 50% speed. So it reproduces once every other second on average.
Right.
Now concerning ratios, since they take a second to build, I'll just go with base rates. Since I'm producing a base rate of 1 per second for red, I only need 1 per second gear to feed them all. And like I said before, always round up.
Yeah, exactly. So like, gears are created once every half second, and if we're going at base rate again, then theoretically one gear machine could support 10 red science, because every 5 seconds there's 10 gear wheels being made.
Yes, and the same thing over here. But you'll see, again, we're producing twice as much as we need of inserters once we get that researched and built. But for belts, it actually produces 2 at a time, so we're producing 4 times as many belts as we need for this build. So that's why I put this little box here, so we can walk by and pick up spares to help build the base.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to do in your base for sure.
Also, I chose direct insertion for belts and inserters in the science build because the gear wheels take half a second and the belts take half a second, and it takes 1 gear wheel to produce. So it's a 1-to-1 building ratio, and they take exactly the same time. So instead of belting around gears everywhere, for this science build, I like to just direct insert gears into belts.
Yeah, exactly. Very good point. And later on, we'll get into there's some upgrades you can get that allow your inserters to pull multiple items at once from one machine or container to another, and that comes in play a lot later down the road for direct insertion as a benefit. So yeah, so we have this all set up. Really all we're missing is we need, for green science packs, we need inserters, and inserters actually take 3 items, and assembling machines have a limit on the amount of items they can craft. You can see there it says craft items that require up to 2 ingredients, so we need the next level that can craft 3 or more. So we'll go ahead and research automation here, which researches the next one, which can do 4 ingredients. And yeah, so we'll replace this with a blue one. And to just quickly go over the assembling machines, a base crafting speed, as Zuri was talking about before, is kind of like based on your character. Your guy crafts at 1 speed, at a speed of 1, right? So these assembling machines you see up here, they have a crafting speed of 0.5, which means they only craft half as fast as you do in your pocket. And then the blue ones that we're researching have a 0.75, and then the last one you can get actually has 1.25, so it's actually slightly faster than you. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing figuring out ratios, and you know, if the assembling machines seem to be crafting slower than you think they would. All these guys are crafting half as fast as we could make this, but obviously they're doing it automatically, so that's the main benefit.
And it's the parallel processing, the power of it. You just build enough machines and get them to balance right, and you can plow through a lot of construction and research.
Yep, definitely.
Right. I think I lined up the belts correctly for our continuation of the production bus, is what I'm going to call it.
Oh, sweet, awesome. Yeah, so we need to turn this our main bus here down because this coal's in the way, and later we'll also need to make it past this lake. So Zuri has gone ahead and set up these belts so we can turn it down. And what we're doing is we're leaving room here, enough room for 4 copper lines potentially and 4 iron. We went over this a little last time, just for max expandability in the future.
I'm going to have to move this over one. Oh well.
Oh, do we need to move it over? Alright, so you can also see we have 10 science labs down here. This is just a good starting point. And we're just gonna expand this guy down. So yeah, I saw a post actually today on the subreddit, someone asking about like how to keep a base organized, and a main bus I think is a really good way to do that because it keeps everything flowing usually in one direction. Obviously we had to change it here, but keeps everything flowing in one direction and just kind of keeps things symmetrical if you make it that way. So this can be a really good way to keep your factory a little more organized.
We're not going to use nearly the belts for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely not going to need it this soon. If you want to touch on really quick why we're leaving a 2-space gap in between these, down the middle
Certainly.
here.
We need them for underground belts. Because underground belts can only go 4. So you need room for the entrance and exits of the other belts.
Right. So yeah, yeah, exactly like he said, it's just good to leave, like if you end up having more stuff on your bus and you want to do more lines, it's just good to leave a space of 2 in between every set of 4, so you can do undergrounds, because you're going to have to end up crossing stuff over to do your production off to the side like we've done here.
Alright, I think it's time for us to do our first build. I vote on green circuits.
Alright, I think that's a good decision. Let's go do that.
And once again, I'll start with the output line in the middle and go around it.
Okay. So yeah, green circuits are something you're going to need a lot of them. You're gonna find a little later on that you're just going to need a ton of them for various things. So it's definitely good to, whatever way you build it, to make it expandable for the future. Otherwise you're going to run into some serious throughput issues later on. So there's a setup here that Zuri's doing, which if he wants you can explain here.
Yeah, when trying to figure out ratios, it's a good idea to remember how much it takes and how much it produces. So copper cabling takes the same time as a green circuit, but it produces 2. But a green circuit requires 3 copper cabling. So direct insertion is my preferred method, and a 3-to-2 ratio is what you need to keep them going 100%. And that's assuming you can keep them fed.
Right, yeah, it can be a little bit of a challenge to keep all the resources going down. But yeah, again, we're just working with ratios. So as Zuri said, the circuit takes half a second in 3 copper cables. So if we're having 2 circuit machines, we need 6 copper cable per half second, and each one makes 2 at half a second. So we're getting 6, which is what we need. So this is going to be essentially a perfect ratio for this, as long as you can keep all the resources going as you need them.
I learned this inserter trick from anti-elites. Since the long-handed inserters are exactly half the speed of a fast inserter, it'll keep the ratios better if you use the red inserters or the long-handed inserters for the evenly split one, where you need half the output.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, so this is right. Like, I didn't know that till just now. That's actually really, really interesting. Huh. Yeah, so these guys move at half the speed, and you're going to need, right, so we have 2 pulling from this middle machine, and then 1 on these outside machines. That's a fast inserter. So that's a really good point, Zuri, you brought up for sure. I didn't. And then kind of like our smelting here, we're just going to have the circuits output onto a belt down the middle. And I went over a little bit last time how inserters work, but just to touch on it again, since they always insert onto the far side of a belt, since these are obviously on opposite sides, that's how the belt gets filled evenly on both sides. Now, are we going to end up needing more than one fast inserter here to get the copper in?
Not yet. We will later, but not yet.
Okay.
As soon as we upgrade these to tier 3s, we might need like 2 input and 2 output inserters. We start using modules, but one should keep up.
All right. So how now? Wait, it looks like we forgot iron, didn't we?
I like to come in from the side. Or I can move this over and have the input and output belt for iron and green circuits right next to each other.
Yeah, either way works. So if you're coming in from the side, then we just need another one down here, is how you would do it?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. So yeah, there's obviously different ways to do this, but this right here is going to be the ratio you want to use for circuits if you want them producing it full pace and efficiently. And we never actually really went into how splitters work. If you want to touch on that really quick, I know you know a lot more than I do about that.
Well, I guess the best way to do is demonstration.
Yeah.
I'll place some wood on the line, and it'll basically swap the output back and forth.
Right.
But it keeps it on the same lane.
Yep, exactly. So you can see that obviously he's only putting it on one belt, and when it comes out, it's essentially just sending one on one side, and then the next one goes on the other side, and then the next one on the first side, so on and so forth. But yeah, it stays on the same lane it came in on, as you mentioned.
There are some behaviors you can do with these, but I'm pretty sure they plan on fixing it for 0.13, so I'm not sure I should explain a lot of the peculiarities with these, because it might be just a temporary thing.
Right. Yeah. Maybe not.
Like, it remembers what side each one was put on, so if you alternate the inputs, it stays alternated on the output.
Yeah. So yeah, splitters are super, super useful.
Also, this happens. But that's okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff you can do with these. Like super big belt balancers and rebalancers and stuff. We'll get into that quite a bit later, but essentially, yeah, so like right here, we're just splitting the iron that comes in 50-50 down this line and then down this line so that it each one gets the same amount.
And once we start using more lanes, I'll start showing off the build extractors I have for these kind of systems. We're nowhere near the place where we can use those yet, though.
Yeah, probably not. And we've actually had, before we started here, we had a few attacks. I did put a radar down in the middle here, which it's revealing the map, and we haven't really gone over this. The radar is just pretty straightforward. It reveals the map at a certain rate. If I run up to it here really quick, you can see over there on the side the scanning progress. Each time it goes through that bar, it's going to scan a little sector. So you can see up here it's going to scan a new sector that just appeared. So it'll scan out to a certain range. We haven't revealed the enemies, but they're definitely out there because we've gotten attacked, I think, 3 or 4 times now.
So much handcrafting, we gotta automate this stuff.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, that's like one of the great things about Factorio, because soon here we're going to automate the production of assembling machines. So essentially, you're just having assembling machines making assembling machines, and we need like inserters being made automatically and all that. So you can just automate everything, which we definitely need to do because the handcrafting does take quite a while.
And be sure to keep on top of research.
Oh, yeah, good point. I usually forget that.
Well, in multiplayer, it doesn't ever pop up, so you gotta manually remind yourself every once in a while.
Right, yeah.
And we are having power issues, too.
Oh, are we? Wow. I guess with all this added stuff. Yep. So I'll have to go fix that. Yeah, definitely periodically check on your power. You can look at the assembling machine, or actually if you click on a power pole, well, if you mouse over it, you can see the fluctuation, but if you click on it, you get a really detailed layout here of what's using how much and you know, how your power is doing, and you can look over the minutes, hours. Now, actually, because this can be really confusing, if you want to go over really quick on the screen here when you click on a power pole, how the consumption and production is like backwards, those bars.
Sure, but look at it real quick.
So like, yeah, so like when...
So you have two numbers you got to keep track of. It doesn't really tell you though what the bigger one is. You have your max production capacity and your max consumption. What you're consuming right now.
Right.
So the ratio between the two is the two green bars you see. The top one is consumption divided by your max production, and normally, if you're doing all right, that should be 100% full all the time. That means you don't have any problems. The second bar is your max production divided by your max consumption, or current consumption. That's the bar you want to be not full.
Right. Yeah, so if that one gets full, then that would mean we have power issues. And we did just a minute ago, for some reason. But it's a little better now.
I'm going to add a walking space in here.
Yeah, I did that a little bit wrong. So yeah, we're going to have to move this a little bit. Because it's good to add a space where you can walk. Otherwise, you're going to have to walk around your entire thing of steam engines. So yeah, now we can walk through here. And we just used, what he just put down was underground pipes. Pipes carry liquids, and the underground pipe is just like an underground belt. It can span underground, but it can go quite a bit farther. I forget what it is, like 12, is it? Or 10?
10 total from end to end.
Right, okay. And
right.
It looks like
yeah, Would you
great.
mind researching military, or did you do that already?
We just got that actually. It's just one little dude. Great.
It's not getting old or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm gonna have to go find them and destroy their stuff here soon.
Oh, definitely. And I'm pretty sure I know exactly where they are.
Oh, really? Where do you think?
Alright, so you know where our research labs are?
Mm-hmm.
Head due west until you hit just north of exactly where the base is. Just on the edge of the pollution cloud.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, we're gonna have to go wipe them out. So I just researched some armor, and let's see what should we do next here? Maybe steel would be something good to go for.
Well, usually once they get the science built up, they can just tear through research. So I just research whatever's cheapest and don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of red research you can do. So just do that until you get green up. Right now we actually can get green up because we have access to these level 2 machines. And by the way, if you've seen us running across belts to pick stuff up, if you hold F, it'll pick up things on the ground that you run over. So just a quick note there. I don't think we mentioned that.
Also, you can drop items from your inventory by holding it in your hand and hitting Z.
Yeah, so by pressing Z here, I'm just dropping these all over the ground. So that can be pretty useful sometimes, I guess, if you want to like put stuff on belts. That's how Zuri was putting the wood on the belt. Research, right. And yeah, so you can see our research, it's really just tearing through it pretty quickly. And one thing we haven't actually gone over is the research stuff here, like the time it takes and the cycles and such. Let's find a good So if we look like here at this shotgun shell damage, it takes 1 science pack and 30 seconds. But this is per cycle. And you can see over here it says times 50. So this requires 50 cycles. It needs to go through 50 cycles to complete. So it essentially takes 50 times a science pack times 30 seconds. So 1500 seconds and 50 red science packs. Now obviously this is multiplied by labs here.
So we have, since we're producing a base rate of 1 per second for each science, times the speed of 0.5, 1 every 2 seconds. If we had 15 labs exactly, we would be producing the red science at exactly the same speed we were consuming them.
Right. And then just for research, so like the one I use for example, 1500 seconds obviously seems like a long time, but since we have 10 labs, it's actually doing this 10 times quicker than just what it displays, essentially.
Yes, and we'll have no shortage of science pack speeding.
Right, exactly. Now, how many lines do you usually like to leave for green circuits? 2 or more than that?
2 is normally more than I do. I usually produce circuits locally, like in the science build, if I can.
Right, so like for advanced circuits, would you produce those normal circuits locally or grab off the bus?
For which?
Like if we were going to make advanced circuits later on.
Yeah, those I usually do from the bus, actually.
Right.
I'm just building a couple assembly machines for gears here.
Alrighty. And also, recently I researched steel, which we're going to need here soon. Steel, if I can find it. Steel takes 5 iron plate to make. And if I'm correct, I believe it takes 5 times as long as well. So yeah, essentially it can be it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So since it takes 5 times as long and 5 iron, you can make 1 steel from the iron you would get from 1 furnace if you're just using 1 steel furnace. So we'll go over that a little more later, but you definitely will need steel. It's used in quite a bit of the later game stuff. And I'm actually going to make some armor here, some iron armor. And that provides you with some durability, which essentially is just it's just the armor. So, and then resistances is the resistance it provides towards certain damage types. So acid, explosion, or physical. There's a flat number and then a percent. And I actually forget, Zuri, do you know which one is applied first for the resistances? The flat number or percent?
I believe it's whichever is higher, actually.
Okay.
I'll have to find the video. There's a really good video I found on it once upon a time.
Yeah, I would be interested in that. Because, yeah, so it takes the damage that's incoming and then the resist. I mean, it's pretty much like any game that has a resistance, is there's a percent and the flat amount that it deflects. So armor, definitely a good thing to have.
For steel builds, I actually like having a combined build that makes it from ore to steel. And every single time I build one, I usually do it a little differently. Like, I don't have a
Really? Oh,
favorite build I run to.
interesting. Okay, yeah. So you just like change it up every time. And you can see we just actually researched heavy armor, which is going to require steel. So we will need to get that here shortly, but yeah, right now, Zuri's just setting up some gears that we can use for other things down the road. And we're going to have to automate assembling machines here soon, because I'm tired of making them in my hand, and I'm sure you are as well.
Yes, yes, I am. We should also
And
get a small belt build going somewhere too.
say again, a small...
Belt build, sorry.
Right, yeah, small belt build would definitely be good. And I think we're actually probably going to need to end it there. We're at about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll call it there. Made some progress, built some circuits, and we'll probably finish up this gear thing off screen here, and then progress from there. So, as always, thank you for joining us, and we hope you found this helpful.